I never thought I'd be the kind of man who could vanish in plain sight, who could let silence speak louder than words. But betrayal and manipulation have a way of sharpening instincts you never knew existed. My wife, Priya, and I had been married for 8 years. We shared a comfortable life, a beautiful home, 2 kids, careers we supported each other in, and what I believed was a foundation built on trust. That foundation cracked the day she brought up the idea of an open marriage. At first, I thought she was joking. Something about modern relationships and freedom, testing boundaries. But the way she looked at me, her eyes calculating, her tone deliberate, told me she meant it. She wanted permission to explore, to have intimacy outside our marriage, while I was expected to silently accept it. I was stunned. My mind raced, trying to process why the woman I trusted, the mother of my children, would even consider such a thing. And then, the realization hit me like a freight train. She wasn't looking for mutual exploration. She wanted freedom for herself and nothing for me. She wanted to gamble with our life, and I was expected to stay on the losing side. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I didn't plead. I simply listened, letting her words hang in the air. Then I left the room. Not dramatically, not with anger, but quietly, deliberately. That was my first act of revenge and detachment. She had tried to manipulate my emotions, and I would not give her the satisfaction of seeing me react. Over the next few days, I ghosted her in every sense. I ignored her calls, her texts, her attempts to discuss feelings. She tried everything, sweetness, reasoning, even veiled threats. But I stayed silent. The quiet was louder than any shouting, more precise than any confrontation. I let her stew in her own expectation that I would bend to her will. While she panicked and tried to regain control, I took action in a different, calculated way. I gathered evidence of her intentions, recording conversations she thought were private, noting patterns of behavior that suggested she had already begun exploring relationships outside our marriage. I kept meticulous notes of late-night calls, hidden social media accounts, and meetings she had with friends. Each piece was another nail in the coffin of trust she had shattered. When I finally filed for divorce, it was not a surprise for her, though she tried to pretend it was. The paperwork was precise, legally airtight, detailing custody, property, and the implications of her reckless behavior. I wasn't vindictive. I was thorough. I ensured that every move she had made outside the bounds of trust was documented, protecting myself and our children from future manipulation. The fallout was instantaneous. She was left scrambling, realizing too late that her games had consequences. Friends who had supported her initially began questioning her choices, seeing her not as a modern, liberated woman, but as someone who had abandoned responsibility and attempted to manipulate loyalty. Her credibility, once taken for granted, had evaporated. Meanwhile, I reclaimed my life. I spent time with my children, reestablishing routines and stability. I focused on my work, my friends, and my mental health. My quiet revenge, ghosting her while legally dismantling the marriage, left a lasting impression. She had expected drama, confrontation, tears, and begging. Instead, she found calm, methodical detachment, and proof that her manipulations had consequences. In the end, she wanted freedom without responsibility, exploration without accountability. I gave her exactly what she had created for herself, a life unmoored, facing the consequences of her own choices. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't humiliate her in public. I let the facts, the law, and my own calm presence do all the work. The lesson is clear. Betrayal, manipulation, and selfishness cannot outmaneuver preparation, patience, and quiet decisiveness. She wanted an open marriage, thinking she could bend loyalty and love to her whims. I showed her that actions have consequences, and that sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply to ghost, detach, and let the legal system speak for you. Even now, months later, the quiet resonates. I walk through my house, feel my children's laughter, see my life rebuilt, and know that I navigated betrayal not with anger, but with strategy. She thought she could manipulate me. Instead, she was outmaneuvered at every step.